All right, 2.6 day one, operations with decimals. We're going to add, subtract, and multiply today. So when you start here on the top, it says the table shows the monthly profits and losses in dollars of a company for the first 3 months in 1 year. It tells you over here on the right-hand side, a company has a profit if its income is more than its expenses. It has a loss if its income is less than its expenses. Income and expenses are always positive, but business losses can be represented by a negative number. Okay, so January, negative 2.14 million, February, negative 1.5 million, March, positive 2.17 million. It says from the table, the negative decimals mean that the company lost money during January and February, but made money during March. To find the combined loss for January and February, evaluate the sum of negative 2.14 and negative 1.5. Since the signs are the same and it's an addition problem, we're going to add the sign numbers and keep the sign. So 2.14 plus 1.5 is 3.6. So the combined loss for January and February is 3.64 million. Since it's a loss, you don't have to put the negative. The common negative means a loss. Okay, then we're going to scoot down here. And it says to find the net profit or loss at the end of the 3 months, you're going to take negative 2.14, negative 1.5, I'm right here now, and 2.17. Since the first two numbers are negative, we're again going to add those together like we did up here. We got negative 3.64, and then negative 3.64 plus 2.17. Again, one's positive, one's negative, so you're going to subtract 3.64 plus 2.17. You got to line up those decimal places, and I have the work right over here. You're going to get 1.47. And since your larger number is positive, I lied. Since your larger number is negative, you're going to have a loss of 1.47 million. So if you look down here, it says since 1.47 is negative, you know the company had a net loss at the end of the 3 months of 1.47 million. Okay? So now we're going to go down here and we're going to try a couple of these on our own. It says, evaluate each expression, negative 4.52 and 3.27. Okay, so we got to line up those decimal places, negative 4.52, 3.27. One's positive, one's negative, so we're going to subtract. We have to do some borrowing here. 12 minus 6 is 6, 4 minus 2 is 2, 4 minus 1 is 3, 4 minus 3 is 1. And since our larger number is negative, it's negative 1.26. Okay, and that second problem is covered up, negative 7.4 minus 5.18. Keep the first number, change the negative, change the second sign. Since it is both same sign now, we're going to line up our decimal places and add. And we're going to get 12.58, and it's going to be negative 12.58 since both signs are the same. Okay, I'm going to erase that real quick so I can do some other work right here. At noon, the temperature was 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. By midnight, it had dropped 7.5 degrees. Then during the morning, it rose 3.8. Find the final temperature. Okay, so the temperature was 2.7. It had dropped, so minus 7.5. Then it rose 3.8. Okay, we have two positive numbers, 2.8 and 3.8, so you can add those together first. That's going to give me 6.6. So I have negative 7.5 plus 6.6. Since those signs are different, we're going to subtract. We're going to get 0.9. So you would have a net loss of 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, you're going to try this diver one, and then I'll come back to you. All right, so I added 30.65 plus negative. Those are both negative. And then I subtracted 52.45, and I got a, you ended up at negative 24.7 feet below sea level. Okay, so now for multiplication and division. The rules for multiplication and division, you're now on the back of your paper. Well, we were for the last one also, actually. So the rules for multiplying and dividing are the same. You need to, you do not need to line up the decimal places, and we'll deal with our signs at the end. So I'm going to go on here to the next page. All right, so the first one's done for us, 2.05 times 1.2. You need to do your multiplication like normal. You have 2 decimal places in your first number, 1 decimal place in your second, so your answer needs 3 decimal places, so you move it over 1, sorry about that, 1, 2, 3 spaces, and since we had an odd number of negatives, our answer is negative. Okay, so 6.72 times 4/10. Remember, don't line up those decimal places. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 7 is 28, carry the 2. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26. 2 decimal places here, 0 here, so you need 2 in your answer. 26.88, and since our problem had 1 negative in it, your answer is negative. Okay, so I'm going to stop and have you try B right now. All right, I need to go back to this first one real quick because I just noticed I had an error here. There was a decimal point right there that I didn't notice. I wasn't clear when I drew it, so we actually need to have our decimal point over 1 place, so our answer should be negative 2.688. I apologize for that. We have 3 decimal places in our problem. So now on to this one, 51 times 8.5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 5, 25. 0 for a placeholder. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. Now we add. We end up with 4335. 0 decimal places in the first number, 1 in the second, so you need 1 in your answer. And since you have an even number of negatives, your answer is positive 433.5. Okay, so percent is written as percent, which means out of 100. So 6% is 6 over 100 or 0.06. So we need to do 530 times 0.06. 6 goes into 0, 0. 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. We have 0 decimal places here. We have 2 decimal places here, so we need 2 in our answer. So your answer is $31 or $31.80. Because if that's money, $530, 6% would be $31.80. Okay, and that's the last problem for today. We'll see you in class. Have a good night.